as a bit of an accident, and that started about 10 years ago. I was working with HSBC, and during one of the conferences that was happening in Singapore, usually my manager would go and speak at the conferences. It was IQPC Singapore, if I'm correct. And he happened to be having some personal commitment. And I heard him speaking over the phone that I can't come in and I'll find some other speaker for you. I was there and I said, hey, looks like you're looking for someone else. Can I do that? And after a bit of a chit chat, I was the one to go. That was my first international speaking. I like doing that. Of course, before doing that, I was a master trainer in HSBC. So I had a bit of a stage presence and all those things. I like doing those stage speaking and all. And that's why I continued finding those opportunities actively. I mean, before that, I wasn't looking for those opportunities, but once I loved it, I started finding more and more of those. And since then, I have been speaking every time I get an opportunity, paid, unpaid, doesn't matter. I mean, for me, I think one of the things that speaker needs to do is speak. So that's the first priority I always give, and that's how the journey has begun. Certainly, training and speaking are different things. I mean, not just by the nature of it, but the way a speaker would address the crowd or the audience versus the trainer addresses the crowd. And lots of community members here do have this a kind of distinction we make, that trainers actually show you how to do things and speakers talks about those things. So definitely being a trainer gave me the advantage of knowing things, because as a speaker, I think I cannot exude the level of confidence on the stage if I don't know. And that sort of pulls me back if I don't know things, that, hey, I'm telling you something, but in my mind, I still feel that quite don't know that. But having that confidence that I know it, and if time comes, I can actually take you through the entire training or the content, that projects a very different level of confidence on the stage. That is number one. The second thing that training gives is when somebody does training multiple times and there's a constant feedback coming in from the audience as to what they understand, where they struggle, etc., it clarifies the message and at different levels. So for me, at least, it was beneficial that if I have, say, 8 hours of a training, I would know that how do I compact content to 30 minutes or 45 minutes if I have to, which would be eventually speaking on the stage. And so having that range, being able to speak for 8 hours versus being able to speak for 45 minutes or 60 minutes, that becomes easier when you approach training and speaking that way. For me, I think in terms of the opportunities, because there were not as many opportunities that I would have expected or I was expecting, that made me think in two different ways. One is, how do I pivot, or how do I distinguish myself, or how do I find those opportunities, or if not speaking, then how do I still get in front of the audience or still interact with my clients through different deliveries? That was one definitely a stretch goal. But the second thing also, and being a speaker on innovation, that always kept in running in the background, but last year was a wake-up call that, hey, you keep teaching others innovation. What are you doing for yourself? I think that made me think a bit deeper. How do I innovate myself? Not just for the pandemic and the after effects, but these things may happen anytime afterwards. It may not be a pandemic. It may be something else. So how can one make this speaking profession, or whatever profession you want to call it, how do you continue making the impact that you wanted to make in the first? I'm still in the search of something probably sustainable, so to speak. One thing I initially struggled, of course, was to get into this virtual segment, differentiate myself in that sense, because everybody with a camera, a stack of books, a ring light, and a lavalier mic would become a speaker. And then not just the speaker who was a professional speaker, but pretty much everyone who wanted to be on the stage never got a chance. But now nobody can stop you. So just fix those things. And they started speaking as well. That muddied the water to some extent. And I was struggling to think about that. How do I actually make a difference? Because if it is all about camera, if it is all about lights, if it is all about the audio and all, then everybody has got it. Pretty much everybody has got it. So what's the difference now? Why someone needs a speaker, a professional speaker? And then it reminded me, somebody reminded me that why do you speak, or why people, why companies or clients bring you on board? It was just a casual conversation, but that led to something which I said, and I thank myself for saying that. I said, look, I think people do want to learn, as in the clients want their employees or people want their team members to learn something from us. That's A. But there is no lack of content online. Somebody has to look at me, my video versus some other YouTube creators, for example. They're good. What's the difference? But the second thing, which probably people also look at, is the entertainment factor. Nobody wants to sit through 1 hour of a boring lecture. We all have been there at one point in time, and we don't like doing that. So we want someone to give us that bitter pill, if I may, but in a fun manner, in an engaging manner. And that's where I think the words some people call as a showmanship, I started to learn that. And I'm not saying I have gotten into that level yet, but I think I kind of got the knack of it, understood that yes, showmanship is definitely one thing we need to do on camera. Of course, it's required on the stage as well, but camera is slightly different. The way you use props, the way you would stage the interactions would be different, but that has to be done so that people don't go on another tab, another window, and keep doing something else. And in process of doing that, if a speaker is able to educate and entertain, the third thing, which is inspiration that people take from you, and then even after they go offline, they still remember and implement what you said. Your message stays with them. That inspiration happens. We cannot inspire directly. Inspiration is the outcome. The inputs are education and entertainment. So I focus more on entertainment part, learning that craft, because I was confident about the education part, the content part. Pretty much every speaker, I believe, knows their stuff, knows their content. So there is not a problem with it. It's more about the delivery has changed. My current focus, and I believe that focus will stay as long as I achieve it, until I achieve it, and even after that, is how do I transform speaking, at least my speaking, into something else which cannot be bucketed. So as of today, people have this expectation. If I say I'm a virtual speaker, they know, they kind of imagine, okay, you've got a good camera, you've got a good lighting, you've got setup, and you're going to come on screen. Either you're going to share your PowerPoint or do something else, and you keep talking. And maybe you would engage people on Zoom chat or somewhere else. Maybe you're going to use some questions, ask them to poll. So a lot of people know that. Like, this is the playbook, right? How do I change the playbook? how do I bring something which people would look at, experience it, not just look at, but experience it and say, I have never seen this before. And this is amazing. I like it. I don't know what it is, but I like it. That's the response I want to get. I see speakers community or any community from, I think, the support perspective, because I don't think I'm, at least for me, I wasn't there for selling something or expecting something way different. Because in a way, not exactly, but in a way, we are competitors. Like we are part of the same kind of a business. But I think we are also competitors in terms of the problem, in terms of the issues that we face. And that's where the feedback that you get from others that, hey, what is happening in your world? How are you addressing those challenges? Or what's going on that, what have you found? And in fact, last year has been a fantastic example where lots of speakers have exchanged the kind of setup they have, what kind of cameras they use, recommendations floating around that, hey, this works better, I have tried it, don't go for it, or go for that. And that community feeling, or that interaction is something which I admire. That interaction is which something which makes attached to this community. Like I said before, I have been since then I have been working on trying to improve the performance on camera, or I shouldn't say camera. I'm trying to improve my performance on virtual presentation and trying a number of different things, not just in terms of the technology, but in terms of more so on the feedback or engagement, communication, impact, etc. So, in fact, one of the things which I spoke earlier about is three things that our clients want. They want education, they want entertainment, they want inspiration. How does that tie in to three other factors, such as first is fundamental content, but the content that worked in live environment, in-person environment, probably is not going to be exact match. Have to redo, not at the concept level, but in terms of the delivery. I'm also, but the second aspect is the technology. Right? How do we use technology not for the sake of delivery? That okay, I need a camera, so that's not the technology I'm talking about. I'm talking about technology to assist the goal, to assist the purpose that I'm here to achieve with my audience. What are the technologies that could be used? And the third part is composition. The composition is how do you use your content, mix it up or leverage it with the technology, and actually, in reality, deliver this experience. So it's no more just the content delivery, the experience delivery. And that's where the composition part comes in. So composition is the word which lots of creative field workers use, whether it's a cameraman, whether it's a movie makers or songwriters. They use compositions in a very, they think composition in a very different way. I think we need to understand that, and we need to look at our craft as a composition. That should change the way we do things. So out of these three things, I will briefly touch upon the content and technology. I know content is not something which we have to repeat and talk about, but technology a little bit. And I want to talk more about the composition part, how I have been using composition to enhance the speaking and what is possible. And that's also going to be my journey onwards. So it's kind of rightly fits in to the talk as well. I think I would stick to composition part because, and I'll give you a short reason on that, is if people like the way being delivered, they sometimes just sit through and take it in, regardless of it's a bitter pill or a sweet pill. Because that's one of the biggest challenge, even for speaker, has been, is how do you make people open up their mind and listen to what we are saying? Because if they are closed, no matter how good content is, it's not going through. So focusing on composition means the entertainment comes first. People come for that, people pay attention for that, and then your content needs to do the job.